agenda.
So move.
Second.
I'd like to make an addition to the agenda, please.
On the right place tonight?
Yep. It's pertaining to a street light that was not accepted by the committee, and I would like to reappeal it.
That's 9.
It should be 9H.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody? Motion carried. Conflict of interest declarations.
I would like to declare a conflict. 9A, YASTA core funding requests. I do some work for YASTA. I'm one of the Living Wars demonstrator. Occasionally, last summer, I went in the VIC on the CAT ferry, and I might go back this summer. So I have to declare that a conflict.
Okay. We'll note that when we get to 9A. I should give regrets for Roderick Murphy. There was a death in his family, so he was not attending this meeting. Okay, no presentations. Adoption of minutes of the 137th annual council meeting on April 11th, 2017.
So move.
Second.
Did you vote for the approval of the agenda? Or?
Yep.
He didn't, and I'm noticing there's a financial request that's not there. Maybe we're not doing this meeting. Chris, that financial request that was received for
The community grant?
Yeah.
That'll be the next meeting.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. My
They're on-
apologies.
on the
Sorry to
bottom.
interrupt.
Yeah, we did vote on the agenda.
We did?
Yeah.
I didn't think we did.
Yes, we did.
I've lost.
I was about to mention it myself because I didn't think we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
I'm usually wrong.
Okay, we have a motion for 4A annual council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. 4B, committee of the whole meeting, April 25th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Just to mention, anybody watching this meeting, all these minutes are online if they want to go online under our website, and they can read through the whole set of minutes. A business rising from the minutes, number 5. Just one item, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yes, there's a couple of agenda topics for future meetings. One being evaluation senior safety program, and the other is the use of the Nikhil van is also mentioned there. We haven't brought that to discussion yet to these meetings. The other item is the welcome pole banners, and I believe work is ongoing. I'm not sure if they finalized the work on the design. I believe it is finalized.
Yeah.
And so we fully expect that project to move ahead now that that's done, and you'll see that in the capital budget.
Okay, thank you. You have a copy of the warden's report that I sent out. Does anybody have any questions? Relatively busy week or month. Councillors' reports. Anybody have reports? Councillor Muise.
I received a letter from a resident that lives right close here, in the same yard, and it's regarding, he's concerned about what's going to happen to this building once we move out of here. Now, he sent me a letter. I can read the letter of what it says, or I can just explain. He's worried that perhaps this will be sold. Could be apartments, don't know who. Could be lower rental apartments that we don't know who's going to be here. He says, and he also, he doesn't mention it here, but he's also he's alluding to what happened to the school what they turned that into in St. Andrewso, the main thing. And he says, you never know what's gonna happen. And even if the building is demolished, he's wondering if we sell, are we planning on selling the property? And again, you sell the property, anything can go up. He's a little concerned. He lives right here in the same yard. Where are we here? He's right here, next house, right? He goes right by here. And like you said, there's a house for sale right next door here that he's a little concerned about. You know, you don't know who's gonna buy and whatever. So he just wants to know if we have anything planned on what we're gonna do with the building, what's gonna happen here. Are we gonna demolish it? Are we? I can tell him that no decision has been made, basically, is what I tell him. But he wanted me to bring this to council and to really voice his concern, and apparently he's not the only one. There's other people right close that feel the same way. He, like he said, he says on letter, he knows that the decision was made, that, not that it was a bad decision, that it was a good decision, but he would have hoped that he would have seen it built there, then it stays a municipal office. You know, he says, I've lived there for 9 years, and he has had no problems, but just his concern, and he would like to know what's going to be our decision on that. I guess we don't have a decision at this point, but he would certainly be notified once we know, I'm hopefully, yes.
I've asked the Public Works Department to look at the various options of this property now that we know where we're going. And so a report outlining various options, pros and cons of each, will be presented to council at the earliest opportunity.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I imagine that letters like that should accompany that request for decision so that you can see what some of the neighbors might be saying. And I imagine there would be some community consultation before.
For sure. What I can do with this, it only came to me, and I will forward this to council and to Chris and yourself. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I will do that, so that you can read the letter anyway. That's all I have.
Councillor LeBlanc?
The Liaison and Oversight Committee for the Western Regional Enterprise Network is currently selecting 3 new board members. That'll happen before the AGM in June this summer. And as well as in regards to Wedgeport itself, we have a committee that's been struck to publicize the issues that's been happening with construction or renovation of a new school in Wedgeport. We've been on the list as the next school for some time now, the next school in the CSAP that's due to have either a major renovation or a new school be built. However, for various reasons, been put on the back burner, and it's starting to become a major issue. So things are happening there. You'll likely hear that in the media and with political representatives in the near future here. That's it. Try to do as quick as I could.
Councillor Albright?
We had a recreation meeting on April 20th, and basically we talked about the summer programs that are starting up. Soccer's beginning, the hiring of students is beginning as well. They're doing interviews. Also, Councillor Digdon and I went to an EMO presentation on the 21st of April. It was an information session. Basically, they were outlining what our responsibility as a municipal council would be in the case of an emergency, what it is that we should do, or what our role is in that. And the other thing is the volunteer banquet as well, that we attend, and it seems to get bigger and bigger every year. More and more people attend. That's it.
I attend a presentation done by Colin Fraser to the New Horizons, a little over $23,000. That is to repair the outside of their building that's attached to our Eastside Community Center. I did attend the gala, the Yarmouth Hospital Gala, which was very nice, and they raised over $53,000, which is a very good sum. And just a reminder that the ball field project is still undergo, and hopefully it will be done by the end of May, so that they can go there and do whatever they want at the ball field, walk or bike or wherever they feel like doing. So just keeping line that will be ready.
Councillor Dion-Timon.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Yesterday, we had a West Pimlico Sewer Committee meeting where we went over the budget, and we increased the rate from 265 to 270 for, some of the operational side of the operation. And also, the committee passed a motion to remedy the smell issue. You guys are well aware of the smell issue of the West Pimlico sewer treatment plant. And we had an engineering report that was almost fully completed. Some of the numbers, I guess, were still coming in, but with that, and we had two choices, basically, the geotubes, which are the geobags, which we have now, which we know are causing the smell issue, and also centrifugal, which is an enclosed system. The system was originally built for the Fournier press, which was it's a closed system, but the centrifugal basically works the same way as a Fournier press, but it's more efficient, and in the long run, the numbers look better than the Fournier press. So we passed a motion in that regard. We'll be bringing the report to council and the budget. I think maybe it's the budget coming in a little bit later on here, but yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Councillor Surratt.
Just a couple of things. The waste park, we've opened the tenders, and we're buying an excavator, which we had tendered for. It's around $190,000, and it's all funded. It would cost us one more penny except the money we already put in. We fund the depreciation, one of the few organizations that I'm involved with in charge services that we do have money that's for depreciation. CAT is the company that got the tender, and of course they have an outfit in Yarmouth, so our service, if we need any, can be done easily and cheaply and quickly. And the other thing was, I attended also the volunteer banquet, which was in our district this year in Threads Island, and it was well attended, and just want to give congratulations to all the volunteers that did receive certificates. And that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Digdon.
Just was gonna, Guy beat me, or Councillor Surratt beat me to the punch, I guess, as far as the volunteer banquet. It was a beautiful banquet, well organized, beautiful meal, and hats off to all the volunteers in the municipality, whether they were at that banquet or not, because the volunteers are the backbone, really, of the community. And the only other thing I'd like to say, it's Emergency Preparedness Week. I'm on the EMO committee, and for anyone that doesn't have civic signs out front, the municipality supplies civic signs at no cost to the homeowner, and also poles to put these signs up on. And if anyone needs any, please get a hold of me, or I'm sure I can speak on for any councillor here, that they'd be more than happy to put the order in, and I will personally go out and help anyone put up the signs if they cannot put it up. As a paramedic, it's a heck of a feeling at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving back and forth up the road, looking for somebody that needs your help. A person lives alone, they got nobody to run out to the road or nothing. You know they need you, and yet you can't find them. So it's a great chance, folks, to take advantage of the free sign and that, and the free pole to put it up. So please let either the municipality know or any one of your councillors, and we'll make sure you get them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to the warden's report. I think I'm going to start putting it on the agenda after councillor's report. That way, when I give my report, I will be duplicating what other people want to say. So I'll just mention a few things that didn't get mentioned. I attended the provincial volunteer banquet in Halifax, and our provincial volunteer this year for the municipality was Mrs. Jill Surratt, and she attended our local volunteer banquet also, so everybody got to meet her there. And I attended dedication for Vimy Ridge in West Pimlico, and that was very well done.
Yes.
Councillor Digdon was with me when we attended that. And the rest of it has pretty well been covered. We had an ACOA meeting, me and Alain with senior staff, and agriculture was one of the major topics during that meeting. And that's pretty well wraps it up. Everybody else covered everything else I have here, so good. And we're going to move on to the staff report. CAO.
Thank you. Really high level points only at this point. I will say that we have there's an error in the staff report. The water supply lending program, I indicated that there were 3 loans.
Yeah.
There are 2 loans. One has found a third party or an institution, banking institution, to deal with their particular water issue. So there remains 2 that will be signed, and it's about $16,000 or $17,000 in total. They get paid monthly over a 10-year period at 3% interest. So this is our first crack at some of the solutions that residents have put in place for the water supply lending program. So we still have some administrative things to iron out, but otherwise we're good to go.
Excuse me, do these people receive this loan before the work is done or before the well is drilled?
If they have finished, the answer is yes to both. They can either receive the money to pay the supplier. More than likely what would happen is we would pay the supplier directly. So oftentimes they've already, I think 50% of the cases, somebody has provided us a quote, and the other situation, they had already done the work.
Thank you.
So they owed the supplier that amount of money. Yeah. Okay. Either way, we would certify that the money lands in the right place. So, which is important.
That's
So
why I was asking that question.
yeah. So, yeah, so just the issues or the items that will be taking up sometime now and into the future, the admin building, we're finalizing purchase and sale agreements, and there's been a survey done internally for materials, what kind of materials could be used in the construction. We did say at the time when we went out to public that we would use materials that were easily accessible by local contractors to not deny them the opportunity to bid on this. And so that certainly will happen. And we are in we have drafted a request for proposal to engage consultants to help us with the design and the engineering. So we still have work to do in that area to refine that document, and just so that we're in a situation where we have a pretty good idea what we want, but we don't want to restrict ourselves too much and deny people the imagination to tell us to do something a little bit different or better. But we do have a pretty good idea what we're looking for, and it will not be issued without council seeing it. And so you'll have the opportunity to go through this document with myself and the Director of Public Works, Hans, our new director, so which some of you've met, but not all of you have met, so we'll introduce him officially at the next meeting. Wedgeport Sewer, there's probably 7 wastewater or septic tanks that will be installed in the first round. We hope to have a lot more in the second and third rounds. And so we feel like once we've been focused, we're going to do a media blitz, but we felt like probably the best promotion was actually doing the work. And then we'll do a media blitz, during, and then after, to make sure we increase our numbers.
We have a number in our minds that we'd like to.
We budgeted for 44.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were saying the number, I guess.
We're not there yet, though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we'd love to get to that number for sure.
Yeah. A lot of airport meetings regarding passenger service, which I highlighted in the report, and rural broadband initiative has been the application has been submitted, and that's where I'll stop. But there's obviously there's 11 pages worth of staff report. If there's any questions or clarifications, I'll stop there and ask.
Councillor Surratt.
Brenda LeGrandeur has been the person hired, it says as a lead for the connector program. So is that 1 year? Is that a 1 year term?
Yes, it's a pilot project.
It's a pilot project.
So it could be more than a year, but right now it's a 1-year contract with, and it's Western Ren that
Okay.
secured. It's 100% provincially funded.
100% provincial. Now, is there any other place that they've tried this, that it's a go? Like, not only Nova Scotia, is there other places where they've got some kind of a program like this, or this is just unique to Nova Scotia as far as you know?
I can't comment on outside Nova Scotia. I do know that Halifax has done this connector program, and has seen some success with it. This would be the first time a rural Ren would take this on. So it's not like it's the first time it ever happened, but it's
Okay.
certainly the
That's
first
my
time,
question.
a local Ren would have taken on this kind of work.
Thank you. That's it.
Councillor D'Entremont.
Question about the new building. I guess I just saw this email about the solar for a community building program accepting applications through the UNSM. Is that, I guess we're probably going to look into all to make the building, I guess, as energy efficient as we can. Is this something that we may be interested in? Just popped up today, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
We're very interested in that.
Yeah.
Councillor Surratt is part of the Green Energy Group. And so the Green Energy Group has been aware of this funding opportunity. So this project is to sell solar power to Nova Scotia, well, to a supplier of energy, Nova Scotia Power, more than likely. So in our situation, there are certain conditions. One of the conditions is that it has to be located on municipal property. So this presented a very unique opportunity for us because we could build it into the new building construction. And so while we wouldn't be using the energy directly in the building, we would be selling the energy to Nova Scotia Power for a profit.
Yeah.
So a gas tax could be used for the installation of that. It is a competitive process, meaning that the cheaper we can do it for, the more likely we will get the contract. We have a memorandum of understanding with an organization that will allow us to benefit from buying power for multiple municipalities looking to do this. So that was a lot more information you asked for, but
Yeah,
it
no.
is part of the planning, and it just basically opened. So we plan on making sure that the engineers or architects are aware that this is an opportunity.
I guess to me, it just looked like the timing might be right. So.
Absolutely.
I would agree.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
is that your report?
Yep.
And again, all 11 pages are online, attached to the agenda. Anybody interested in reading through that, which I did today. The next item is 9A, B, and C. We're going to defer to the budget meeting.
Okay.
If there's no objections, me and Alain discussed it this afternoon. 9D, the May 30th meeting, that falls on the provincial election night.
Oh,
And they asked me what I wanted to do, and I said to put it on the agenda for everybody to discuss it. But I feel with this meeting, and we're gonna have at least probably 2 budget meetings, if not more, before that date. So I'm leaning towards cancellation until our regular council meeting in June.
Yeah, May 30th for myself, we'll be hauling up, and I think we'll be quite busy, so probably be a meeting that I would miss.
I would like to miss it as well.
okay.
We're gonna be fishing far, we're probably gonna be through the night that evening to get them in for the next day. So, I wouldn't be here anyway, so it'd be great if we could back it up a week or
I
something.
won't be here either. That's returning
Okay.
officer.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You need a
yeah.
motion?
No, that's right.
so
By
I'm
the
gonna,
sounds, we wouldn't have a meeting anyway.
Right.
we'll ask Chris here, where he's the expert on Robert's rules. Do we need a motion or a consensus?
Motion would be better.
A
So moved.
motion that, okay.
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay. Request for assessment amendment, and this is to do with a residential property that burnt, I believe. And it brought the market value from 35,400 down to 20,006. And what's the, I don't see an action here, so what's the action we need to take on this item?
This item falls under the provision of involuntary destruction, which we do have policy or bylaw on. Municipal Clerk Fraughton has the information on that around what our requirements are. We do require a motion for this to occur, and along with PDSC's adjustment and a confirmation from the fire department that there was in fact a fire and that there was not that there was no malice, or that it was accidental. Right. Is there anything else to add to that?
Just, it's dealt with as if it was a relief of taxes that we generally do, but because it's after the assessment rule has been filed and after the appeal period is over, we have to have a motion by council to allow PSC to do that change.
I so move that we abide by the letter sent by PVSC to get the assessment down because of the building burned, the
Second.
house, the home burned down.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The next item takes a while to open up. Oh,
Somebody we know.
somebody we know has received a long service recognition. The Canadian Association of Municipal Administration's Long Service Recognition Award Program acknowledged the commitment of our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Alain Muise, for his 10 years of municipal service and the management capability. So he has received a pen, which I believe he's already seen, but I have it here that I'll be presenting to him. And I'm gonna just hand it over, I'm not penning it on it.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think you're the first one that's lasted 10 years.
You're rough on CAOs,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That might be true.
Syria.
Jerry was probably
Syriac?
here longer than that.
Jerry was,
55 years.
yeah, as clerk was here longer for sure.
Yeah.
And probably Syriac, yes.
55 years.
Thank you.
All right, with pride.
And the next one is a land use bylaw situation, if I can find that. Man, we need laptops. Okay, it's a zone is to be changed from mixed use to heavy industrial in Upper Wedgeport for the worm growers, Growing Green Earthworm Castings Limited. And we have a recommendation and conclusion at the very bottom. Basically, they want to put up a building 30 by 70 on the lot. And our planner has no problem with the changes and moving forward with this. So I believe we need a motion
That's correct.
for first reading. Would this be considered first reading, or?
Yes, I believe that it would, and so it would be motion to accept the recommendation to rezone the subject property from mixed use to heavy industrial zone for the construction of an accessory storage building and the use of the property for earthworm castings manufacturing would be the suggested motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
So just on the motion, just so that you're aware, this motion will create the public public participation process.
Yep.
Typically, this would go to PAC first. However, the PAC is we're having some problem reaching quorum. We need to add more members, so we figured we can't make, that's not the the applicant's fault that that
That's right.
occurred, so we brought it directly here, and seeing as the majority of the PAC members are in fact councillors, we didn't feel too uncomfortable with that. And this is a public process, so
That's right.
once this gets advertised and everything, anybody who opposes or is in favor of this will have the opportunity to bring that to you.
Providing that no one is opposed to this, in regards to the first reading, second reading, what timeline and process should I inform?
We can give him some exact dates if everything goes well, and so maybe the best thing to do is just develop that and send it to you so that he sees exactly how it would work.
Okay.
It has to be advertised, and I believe that it needs 14 days in between the first advertisement and the next meeting. So we couldn't do it next week, for instance, so it would have to be more than likely the first meeting of June. That would give us sufficient time to have the second reading and then the change.
So it's just a second reading, there's no third?
No, and this is a change in the land use bylaw only. This is not a change to the municipal planning strategy, which would take longer, because you may in fact have, when you do NPS changes, you have public participation at the beginning and then at the end. This would be just a public hearing. So the public hearing would occur essentially on the second Tuesday of June, more than likely. And then after, let's assume no issue, it then becomes approved, we send the information to the Department of Municipal Affairs, and I believe we advertise it again. And we have so many days where people can appeal. Once that appeal process is expired, which I believe is 7 days after it's advertised that second time, it becomes law. So end of June would be very very reasonable and possible, based on all those things happening in order.
Providing they go as planned?
Yeah.
Or as, hopefully it's planned.
Right.
Just for information for the rest of council, the reason why I'm asking is the gentleman who opened this business has been there for several years now, but all of a sudden, just in this last year here, business has boomed, and which is a very positive thing, and especially I know everyone here is interested in economic growth in our area, so this is a success story as of late. He needs storage for his product, and he needs to up his capacity, as he can't meet his demand at the very moment. So that's why I'm asking about timelines. He wants to break ground as soon as possible when our fishing season is over here, so that's why I'm trying to hurry it along as quick as I possibly can.
They work very hard at it, I know
Yeah,
personally, and
they
they
do.
put a lot of time in, a lot of hard work.
Councillor Surratt?
I guess coming to what our deputy warden brought up a letter about a resident that was concerned here next door about this building. When it comes to this place in Westport, I know where, at the old Knights of Columbus building, you may have answered my question. This will go to public consultation, or are people sent letters that they're going to do, that something is going to be built there? Is there a process there that the letter is sent by our PAC, or how does that usually work? Because if a resident says, well, I don't want the building, what happens, because we are hearing that somebody is concerned about this building here? What's the process there?
We don't have a written process that says we must write a letter to every resident within a certain XY
Right.
on this particular change in bylaw. I'd be more comfortable for Brad to answer this because he's closer to the land use bylaw than I am, but I'm not aware of any process at this point that forces that to happen. Now, is it good practice? Yes, it's good practice to inform those around the area, and from our perspective, what we would do is from a practical perspective, is talk to the local representative and understand what's going on there, what's happening, and what in fact is going there. One of the issues is it is storage, and because it has to be zoned differently because of the nature of what's occurring. The nature of what's occurring is not a nuisance.
No.
But by definition, because of the processes that are in place, it changes the nature of the business. So heavy industrial doesn't necessarily mean, you know, smoking pipes and,
Right, and stuff.
right, and nuisances and noise, and in fact, it's a very quiet process.
Right.
And so, that, you know, gives us some confidence that this particular change doesn't present a lot of nuisances, but you never know,
Yeah.
right? You never
Yeah.
know, and you should be, that's why the public hearing is in place.
That's why the
To
public
make
hearing
sure.
is there.
So, you know, we can speak with our representative, see what the best approach is based on his experience,
Yep.
but we are not forced to do that. But I would admit that it's good practice to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Muise?
I think my question was answered. I wondered, I mean, he's not changing his operation. He's just building a place to store what he's already producing. So that's why I couldn't understand why the bylaw would have to be changed, but there's a reason why.
It's the zoning.
It's a zoning.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Is that inside that mixed-use zone, he cannot do heavy industry. And while it doesn't appear to be heavy industry,
No.
by definition, in our land use bylaw, what's happening there is considered heavy industry, because he's taking a raw material and he's bringing it to a finished product. So that's really the definition of heavy industry.
But isn't that what he's been doing ever since he's been doing this?
Apparently, this adds a layer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
I'm
go
not gonna
anymore.
say I'm an expert at that, but.
I'm not gonna go
but,
beyond that. It
but
That's
just-
enough, yeah.
it- you know, that's enough.
It
That's
does
good.
add a layer.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Good to know. It's good to know, yeah.
Yeah. Aware of what, I can't say.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. 9H, streetlight appeal.
Yes, the local fire department put in a request for a street light on the end of Willett Road and Highway 3. It was refused. This request was asked in last October, I believe. And it was refused because it says there wasn't enough traffic and it didn't meet the requirements of the policy. I'll put then it says number 9, criteria wasn't addressed in the request. And it is not a high nighttime traffic or hazardous location. Well, I was talking to the firemen about that area there, and they say, at nighttime, it's a hard drive. To go up Willett Road, they say it's a hard place to see, to get up there, especially in the fog or when it's raining like that. And there have had some mishaps there. A guy landed across the road because he missed the area. I don't know exactly what happened, but there was a mishap there. I think that a street light should be put there because we have emergency vehicles going up and down that road. We have our local fire department volunteers that go up the road. We don't want anything to happen, so I think a good lighting there at the end of the road to show where the road goes to the fire department should be put. We are, certainly sometimes we need outside fire departments to come, so there's no really signage to locate where the fire department is located because it's up a street. You don't see the fire department itself. So I'm asking to reappeal this request.
Any discussion?
What I'd like to ask the CAO, what's the process that we go through? Policy or process when we do?
Yep.
When we do lighting, and I guess it was reviewed, so what's the process that we've done?
Yep, so only organizations, community groups, or a group of residents may apply. So, the fire department applied. Individual resident requests are not accepted, and the concept is that we want it to not just be for one person, we want it to be for community and groups. They usually do that through their district councillor via a petition. The petition is usually submitted to us, either by the councillor or directly by the organization. Clearly maps the area, the proposed locations, and indicating, that 75% of the properties within the radius must be in favor of that streetlight. So those pieces came in pieces, like the initial request came in and then later the petition came in. That's not an issue.
No.
Just that's part of the reason why it was a little bit, it took a little longer potentially, you know, outside of our own speed, because, you know, we have our own speed too, and so we're somewhat responsible for that. So they are reviewed and denied by myself, and the decision, it says the decision has no right to appeal in the policy. However, what Councillor Bourque is potentially suggesting is that perhaps we didn't receive all of the information in order to make a proper decision. So we were not provided, so what is supposed to be given to us is information regarding any sort of traffic history or accident history or other proof that says, look, this is a safety issue, right? So we did not receive that information until after we rejected the policy, the application. If we were to receive the information from the applicant that satisfied those provisions, we would likely have made a different decision. So that's really what happened, and so we followed the policy, and I'm confident that we did follow the policy. However, clearly that wasn't to the satisfaction of some of the residents, and if it is an unsafe location, I don't blame them. So essentially, that's the process at the high level. So if that process is something you wish to alter, that's also a decision that you might make, maybe not today, but in the future. But you know, staff is open to re-examine a reapplication for that streetlight if in fact it meets the criteria. That's would be what.
Yep, that's what I want to know, thank you.
Yeah.
So they can reapply.
Well, I would suggest at this point, based on the fact that we received information subsequent to the refusal that suggested that there was in fact traffic and a history of accidents in that location, that would have played a part in the original application. So we'll be reaching out to the original applicant and letting them know exactly what we need to know. Now, that doesn't guarantee that they meet the policy, but at least we'll have the information, all the information to make a decision.
I honestly feel at some point in time, we are gonna have to maybe look at or reevaluate the streetlight policy around here. I had a public meeting down home a little while ago, and some of the people were mentioning streetlights. And so we have an aging population. A lot of your side roads where they come out on your main road, whether it be 335 through West Pubnico or Route 3 down through East Pubnico or whatever, a lot of the people feel as though it's quite dark now when they get out to to some of these intersections, and we may have to at some point in time look at this. And you know, we want to keep our people in our communities. We don't want them moving out or whatever, but I feel as though we have to help keep them in our communities as well, and make it safe for them. Thank you.
That's something we can look at down the road. I'd like to have information from other rural municipalities that do have a street light program and have a large number of street lights, and see what they think of.
Sounds great.
So,
By all
yeah,
means.
well, I'd like to have some information.
Yes, Mr. Warden, by all means.
I certainly get questions on that topic quite often. I'd be interested as well, diving into those waters, seeing what can and can't be done.
Okay, that's for a later date. So, Councillor Bourque, you satisfied with the response?
Yeah, we'll try again.
So
Okay.
there's no motion or anything, just.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, next 4 items is item 10, it's correspondence, it's for your information. Is there anything there that anybody would like to talk on or make motion or make mention of? If not, I see no financial requests. Is there any notice of motion for the next meeting or agenda topic that they would like to put on? Councillor Surratt.
I do like to make a notice of motion and to the finance department, to our financial department. Well, I'd like to know if we could make a study in the next, 3 months, I guess, and come back with a report in 3 months on what the garbage, what it costs to collect the garbage, what we get in collection, and what it costs us. So is it feasible? Are we collecting what we're spending. I guess that's, you know, maybe it's easy for you to do it, maybe it's not, or maybe you know the answer now, but, you know, in the next 3 months, it gives you plenty of time to get over your budgets and that. So, in other words, it costs X amount of dollars for the garbage truck to go around, pick up all the things, and what are we collecting from the household? Is one offsetting the other? Are we below? Are we above? Where are we at? Is that something you could put your hands on, you know, down the road?
Yeah, I mean, that, that's just an information request. I can provide that information
Oh, okay. Just wonder where
via
we were.
email to all council. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we will actually dig into the budget in not so long.
Okay,
So you'll be able to see the actual cost of collection. As you know, we don't have a per household fee.
assessment.
It is based on assessment.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I mean, any sort of, so what we'll do is we can provide that information very quickly.
That'd be okay.
And
That's
then you can decide whether or not you want to further a discussion on camera.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Question period. Does anybody have any questions from, nothing from YouTube tonight, Scott? Okay, we're gonna have to have a short in-camera session, but we will be having a special budget meeting afterwards if you want to come back in. This in-camera session shouldn't take long, should
No.
it?
No.
Okay.
Motion to go in camera?
Second.
All in favor going in camera?
All right.
Aye.